The massive alien ship blocked out the sun as it approached Earth's orbit. Captain James Walker stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. 20 years in space hadn't prepared him for this moment. First contact should have been humanity's greatest achievement. Instead, it felt like a slap in the face. "Sir, they're preparing to dump another load," reported Lieutenant Tom Reed, his young face reflecting the green glow of the monitoring screens. "That's the third one this week." James watched as the alien vessel's cargo bay doors creaked open. A stream of twisted metal and broken machinery tumbled out, joining the growing cloud of space junk around Earth. His jaw clenched. When the Galactic Coalition had first arrived 6 months ago, they'd promised to help humanity join the interstellar community. No one had expected this. "Get me Chief Engineer Rodriguez," James ordered, his eyes never leaving the scene before him. "She needs to see this." Maria Rodriguez arrived minutes later, her dark hair escaping from its usual tight bun after hours of working in the station's engineering section. She took one look at the new debris field and swore under her breath. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore, are they?" "Why should they?" James replied bitterly. "According to the Coalition's species classification system, we're just primitive apes who recently figured out how to break orbit. They probably think we should be grateful they're giving us their trash." Maria stepped closer to the window, her keen engineer's eyes studying the falling debris. "Some of that trash looks surprisingly intact." She pulled out her tablet, fingers flying over the surface as she took readings. "Those energy signatures. Captain, I don't think all of this is garbage." Before James could respond, the station's communication system crackled to life. "International Space Station, this is Coalition Oversight Officer Gray. Please acknowledge." James shared a quick look with Maria before answering. "This is Captain Walker." "Go ahead, Officer Gray." The alien's voice was smooth and condescending, like an adult speaking to a particularly slow child. "We're completing today's scheduled technology redistribution. Please ensure your collection teams follow proper safety protocols when processing the materials. We wouldn't want any of your workers to hurt themselves with equipment beyond their comprehension." Maria's tablet creaked in her tightening grip. James kept his voice neutral as he responded. "Understood, Officer Gray. We'll stick to our primitive but effective safety measures." "Very good. Oh, and Captain." Gray's tone grew even more patronizing. "The Coalition Council has reviewed your petition for access to basic shield technology. Given humanity's current development level, we feel it would be irresponsible to grant your request. Perhaps in another century or two." The communication cut off. James turned to find Maria staring intently at her readings, a strange light in her eyes. "Maria, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," she said slowly, "that they really should have checked what they were throwing away more carefully." She turned her tablet to show him. That last batch. It included 3 partially intact shield generators. Older models, sure, but definitely salvageable. "They're so convinced of their superiority that they don't think we could possibly understand their advanced technology." James felt the first stirring of hope he'd had in months. "Can we get to them before they break up in the atmosphere?" Maria was already heading for the door. "Better than that. I've been studying their patrol patterns. They dump their loads in predictable zones, then leave for exactly 43 minutes before making another pass. That's more than enough time for our primitive recovery ships to grab the good stuff." "And the Coalition?" "They gave us official permission to collect their garbage," Maria said with a grin. "They just never specified what we were allowed to do with it after collection." Over the next few weeks, a pattern emerged. The Coalition ships would arrive, dump their loads of useless technology, and leave. Earth's recovery teams, officially documented as garbage collection crews, would move in. Under Maria's direction, they quickly learned to spot the valuable pieces among the true debris. The Coalition's arrogance worked in humanity's favor. Their inspection teams barely glanced at the collection operations, apparently unable to imagine that humans could distinguish valuable technology from actual trash. When they did check, they saw exactly what they expected to see. Primitive beings grateful for any scraps from the galactic community's table. James established a secure facility in an abandoned mining complex deep under the Rocky Mountains. Maria assembled a team of Earth's brightest engineers and scientists, all of them burning with the desire to prove humanity's worth. They worked in secret, studying every piece of salvage technology, learning how it worked, and most importantly, learning how to improve it. They think we're stupid, Maria told her team during their first meeting. They think we'll take centuries to understand what they've thrown away. Let's show them what humans can do when we're underestimated. The breakthrough came 3 months later. Maria's team had been studying a damaged shield generator, trying to understand why it had failed. The coalition used crystalline matrices to channel energy, beautiful but incredibly complex systems. When one crystal in the sequence failed, the entire system shut down. It's elegant engineering, Maria admitted, studying the fractured crystal under a microscope. But it's also wasteful. All this power, all this potential, lost because of a single point of failure. Tom Reed, who had transferred to the project at James's request, spoke up from his workstation. What if we didn't try to fix it their way? They think in straight lines. If this breaks, replace it with an identical part. But we don't have identical parts. What are you suggesting? James asked, intrigued. Tom projected a diagram onto the main screen. We can't recreate their crystalline matrices, but we can create our own power distribution systems using Earth metals and semiconductors. They won't be as efficient, but they'll be more resilient. Instead of one perfect path for the energy to flow, we create multiple backup routes. Maria's eyes lit up as she studied the diagram. It won't be as elegant as their solution. But it will work, James finished. And they'll never expect it, because they can't imagine solving the problem any other way than theirs. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Maria's team worked around the clock, taking apart and rebuilding the salvage technology. They replaced delicate alien components with sturdy human alternatives. Where the coalition's engineers sought perfection, humanity embraced adaptation and redundancy. James watched it all with growing pride. In the coalition's drive for technological perfection, they'd forgotten one of the most important lessons of evolution. Sometimes, good enough was better than perfect, especially when good enough could survive where perfection would shatter. The day they successfully powered up their first hybrid shield generator, the entire facility erupted in cheers. The shield wasn't as pristine as a coalition version, but their tests showed it could take more punishment and keep running. More importantly, they could repair it with Earth-made parts. This is just the beginning, Maria told James as they watched the shield shimmer in the test chamber. Every piece of garbage they give us is another piece of the puzzle. They think they're keeping us down, but they're actually giving us exactly what we need to rise. James nodded, already thinking ahead to the next phase of their plan. How long before we can start building something bigger? Maria's smile was fierce. Give me 6 months and a steady supply of their trash. We'll show the galaxy what humanity can build from their leftovers. In orbit above them, another coalition ship arrived to make its daily deposit of worthless technology. Officer Gray watched the humans scramble to collect the debris, his mandibles twitching in amusement at their primitive vessels and simple tools. If he had bothered to look closer, he might have noticed that their collection patterns weren't random, that they seemed to know exactly which pieces to grab first. But like the rest of the coalition, he saw only what he expected to see. And that would prove to be their biggest mistake. 3 months into Project Phoenix, the underground facility buzzed with activity. Engineers and scientists worked around massive pieces of salvaged alien technology, their work tables cluttered with both Earth tools and repurposed coalition equipment. The air smelled of coffee, ozone, and possibility. Maria stood in front of a holographic display, studying the complex web of energy patterns their latest prototype had produced. Next to her, Tom adjusted variables on his tablet, his face illuminated by the blue glow of the hologram. Try routing more power through the secondary matrix, she suggested. The energy flow shifted, creating new patterns in the display. Tom frowned at the readings. It's still not stable. The Coalition's power systems were never meant to work with our modifications. Then we'll make them work, Maria replied, pulling up the schematics for their hybrid power core. The Coalition thinks their way is the only way. That's why they throw away anything that doesn't meet their perfect standards. But we humans, she zoomed in on a section where they'd replaced delicate alien crystals with Earth-made conductors. We adapt. A soft chime announced James's arrival. The captain entered the lab carrying fresh coffee and a datapad. "How's our baby doing?" he asked, handing Maria a steaming cup. "Growing stronger every day," she answered, taking a grateful sip. "We've solved the power distribution problem by creating our own circuits. They're not as efficient as the Coalition's crystal matrices, but they're tougher and easier to repair." James nodded, studying the hologram. "And the weapon systems." Tom pulled up a new display. "That's where it gets interesting. The Coalition's weapons are incredibly powerful, but they have two major weaknesses. First, they're designed to work in perfect conditions. Even minor damage can shut down the whole system. Second, they're predictable. Every ship uses the same targeting patterns, the same attack sequences. Because they've never needed to innovate," Maria added. "They've been the dominant force in the galaxy for so long that they've stopped trying to improve. Why fix what isn't broken?" "But we're fixing it anyway," James said with a smile. "Show me what you've done." Tom brought up footage from their latest weapons test. The video showed a Coalition plasma cannon, supposedly damaged beyond repair, mounted on a testing rig. But instead of the usual blue energy beam, this one pulsed with a mixture of colors, the energy twisting in unusual patterns. "We couldn't restore it to original specs," Tom explained, "so we tried something new. The Coalition's weapons use straight energy beams because that's most efficient, but by combining their technology with some old Earth missile guidance systems." The test footage showed the energy beam suddenly curve around a shield, hitting the target from an unexpected angle. James whistled appreciatively. "They'll never see that coming." "That's not even the best part," Maria said excitedly. "Show him the modulation system." Tom typed a command, and new data scrolled across the screen. Coalition ships all use the same shield frequencies. Their weapons are designed to work against different frequencies, but they never change during battle. We've developed a system that can shift frequencies on the fly, adapting to whatever we're fighting. All using parts they threw away, James mused. "How many more systems have you modified?" Maria's grin was fierce. "Come see for yourself." She led them through a heavy security door into a massive underground chamber. Inside, surrounded by scaffolding and work crews, stood the beginning of their ship. It didn't have the sleek beauty of Coalition vessels. Its hull was a patchwork of different materials, its lines more functional than aesthetic. But there was something impressive about it all the same, like a predator built for function over form. "We're calling it the Redemption," Maria said proudly. "Everything you see here was built from their scraps, but modified to work our way. The hull is a mixture of Coalition armor plates and Earth metals, arranged in a honeycomb pattern that's actually stronger than their original design. The power core uses multiple redundant systems instead of their single crystal matrix." "And the bridge?" James asked, looking up at the command center taking shape above them. "That's where we're really breaking their rules," Tom replied. "Coalition ships are almost entirely automated. They rely on their advanced AI systems to make tactical decisions. We're building this one for human control. Manual overrides for every system, real-time adjustments, the works." A technician called Maria over to check some readings. While she was gone, Tom lowered his voice. "Captain, there's something else you should see." He led James to a secure terminal and pulled up a classified file. "We found this in the database of a scrapped Coalition computer core. It's not just outdated tech they're dumping on Earth. Some of these systems were declared unsafe because they were too unpredictable, too adaptable. The Coalition likes control. They want their technology to be predictable, manageable. But unpredictable is exactly what we need, James realized. They've given us everything we need to build something they'd never dare to build themselves. Maria rejoined them, her face serious. That's not all. Look at these scanned results from the last dump site. She showed them her tablet. They're getting sloppy, overconfident. Yesterday they threw away a partially intact tactical computer because its learning algorithms were too aggressive. Can you imagine what we could do with an AI that actually learns and adapts during battle? James looked between his two best people, seeing the same fire in their eyes that he felt. How long until we can start full systems integration? 2 weeks for the basic systems, Maria answered. Another month to incorporate the advanced modifications. The real challenge will be keeping it quiet. The Coalition's monthly inspection is due soon. Let them come, James said firmly. They see what they expect to see. Show them some broken parts and primitive repair attempts. Their own arrogance is our best camouflage. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. The redemption grew piece by piece, each salvaged component carefully modified and integrated into their hybrid systems. They worked in shifts around the clock, driven by the knowledge that they might never get another chance like this. When the Coalition inspection team arrived, Maria led them on a carefully planned tour of their primitive recycling operation. The aliens barely glanced at the piles of broken technology, their attention caught by the simple Earth tools and basic repair attempts prominently displayed. How quaint, the lead inspector said, watching a technician pretend to struggle with a simple power coupling. At least you're trying to learn from your betters, though I doubt you'll make much progress with such primitive methods. We do our best with what we're given, Maria replied humbly, while behind her back, her fingers crossed in an ancient gesture of deception. After the inspection team left, James called a meeting of the project leaders. They suspect nothing, he announced to relieve smiles. But we need to move faster. Every day we wait is another day they might discover what we're really building. The weapon systems are ready for testing, Tom reported. Shield modifications are at 90% efficiency. Hull integrity is actually better than Coalition standard, thanks to our reinforcement pattern. Maria pulled up the project timeline. We can begin full power tests next week. But Captain, she hesitated. Once we power up the main systems, we won't be able to hide the energy signature for long. Coalition sensors will detect it eventually. James looked around the room at the faces of his team. Engineers, scientists, technicians, all of them tired but determined. They'd taken the Coalition's cast-offs and turned them into something new, something that combined the best of both human and alien technology. More importantly, they'd proved that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Then we'd better make sure we're ready when they do, he said firmly. Because when that day comes, the galaxy is going to learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to take whatever they throw at us and turn it into something amazing. The meeting ended with a sense of purpose. Above them, through millions of tons of rock, Coalition ships continued their regular dumps of worthless technology. Each piece they discarded brought humanity one step closer to showing the galaxy exactly what they'd been throwing away. The dark side of the moon wasn't actually dark, but it was perfect for hiding things from prying eyes. James stood at the viewport of the construction facility, watching as automated construction drones swarmed around the Redemption's growing frame. Earth hung in the black sky behind the ship, a beautiful blue reminder of why they were working so hard. Main reactor test in 5 minutes, Maria's voice came through the comm system. All non-essential personnel, clear the testing area. The drones scattered like startled birds, leaving the Redemption floating alone in the massive underground chamber they carved into the lunar rock. James made his way to the control room, where Maria and Tom were running through final checks. "How's she looking?" James asked, taking his place behind them. "Ready to wake up," Maria replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. "We've triple-checked every connection. If this works, We'll have more power than a standard coalition cruiser, but with our custom distribution system. Tom looked up from his station. Safety systems are green. Backup generators standing by. We're as ready as we'll ever be. James nodded. Do it. Maria took a deep breath and initiated the startup sequence. Deep within the Redemption's hull, their hybrid reactor core began to hum. It was a sound unlike anything a coalition engineer would recognize, not the pure crystalline tone of their standard reactors, but a deeper, more complex harmony created by the mixture of human and alien technology. Power levels rising, Tom reported. 20%, 40%, 60%. He stopped, frowning at his readings. There's a power spike in the secondary matrix. That's meant to happen, Maria said calmly, though her knuckles were white on the controls. Remember, we're not using their perfect crystals. Our system needs to find its own balance. The humming grew louder, accompanied by visible arcs of energy racing across the ship's hull. Warning lights flashed across the control panels, but Maria held steady. Come on, she whispered. Come on, baby, show them what we can do. The power spike peaked, then suddenly stabilized. The erratic energy display settled into a steady blue glow around the ship. Tom's eyes widened as he read the output levels. Holy, we're at 120% of projected power capacity. The hybrid core isn't just working, it's exceeding coalition specs. Cheers erupted throughout the control room. James squeezed Maria's shoulder. You did it. We did it, she corrected, wiping tears from her eyes. Every person on this project, every idea we tried, every failure we learned from, it all led to this moment. Their celebration was interrupted by an urgent signal from the surface monitoring station. Captain, we've got incoming. Coalition patrol ship, standard inspection route. Right on schedule, James said grimly. Power down the reactor. Everyone to their stations. Remember, we're just simple humans playing with scraps. The Redemption's glow faded just as the coalition ship passed overhead. Inside the control room, screens were quickly switched to show mundane maintenance data. Maria pulled up their cover project, a primitive attempt to understand coalition power systems that was deliberately designed to look hopeless. The patrol ship made 2 passes, then moved on. Once it was clear, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. That was close, Tom said. Too close. We can't keep testing the main systems while they're watching. We won't have to much longer, James replied. Maria, how long until the Redemption is ready for full deployment? She consulted her tablet. 2 weeks to complete the weapons integration. Another week for full systems testing. The real question is the crew. We've trained in simulations, but actually operating these hybrid systems in real conditions. Then we'll drill until we get it right, James said firmly. The coalition thinks humans are too primitive to handle their technology. Fine, let them think that. But we're going to show them that sometimes primitive doesn't mean simple. It means being willing to try things their advanced minds would never consider. Over the next 3 weeks, the crew trained relentlessly. They practiced every possible scenario, learning how to handle their unique ship's quirks and capabilities. The Redemption wasn't just a warship. It was a statement about humanity's ability to adapt and overcome. The weapons systems proved particularly interesting. Coalition designs relied on predictable, programmed attack patterns. The Redemption's hybrid weapons could change tactics on the fly, guided by human intuition rather than rigid algorithms. In simulations, this unpredictability consistently gave them an edge over standard coalition combat computers. It's like comparing a boxer to a programmed fighting robot, Tom explained during one training session. Sure, the robot might be stronger and faster, but a skilled human fighter can adapt, can spot patterns, and change strategies mid-fight. That's what makes us dangerous. The shield systems showed similar advantages. Instead of the standard single-layer energy barrier, they'd created a multi-layered defense that could absorb, redirect, or even reflect incoming fire. It required more active management than coalition designs, but offered far more tactical options. The key is the crew, Maria insisted during the final testing phase. Coalition ships are basically automated. The crew just tells the computer what to do, and it handles everything. We're building something that needs human hands, human minds, human instincts. James watched his crew work, pride swelling in his chest. Every person had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively, to adapt to changing situations. They weren't trying to match coalition technology. They were creating something new, something that combined the best of both worlds. The final piece came together during the last week of construction. The tactical computer they'd salvaged, the one the coalition had deemed too aggressive, had been successfully integrated into their systems. But unlike its original design, this version didn't try to control the ship. Instead, it worked as a partner, offering suggestions and handling rapid calculations while leaving tactical decisions to the human crew. "It's perfect," Maria said as they ran the final diagnostic checks. The coalition threw it away because it didn't follow their rules, didn't fit their idea of how things should work, just like they threw us away. But we're going to show them that their trash is our treasure. The day the redemption was finally ready, James called the entire crew together in the main hangar. The ship loomed above them, its hybrid hull gleaming under the lights. It wasn't pretty by coalition standards, too angular, too obviously pieced together from different parts. But it was theirs, built from discarded scraps, but made into something unprecedented. "Look at her," James told his crew. "The coalition gave us their garbage, thinking we couldn't possibly make anything worthwhile from it. They thought we were primitive, simple, unable to understand their advanced technology. But they forgot something important about humans. We've spent our entire history taking things apart, figuring out how they work, and putting them back together in new ways." He gestured to the redemption. "This ship isn't just a weapon. It's proof that humanity deserves its place among the stars. We didn't need their charity or their approval. We just needed a chance to show what we could do with the things they thought were worthless." Maria stepped forward. "Final systems check is complete, Captain. The redemption is ready." James looked at his crew, engineers, pilots, tactical officers, all of them ready to show the galaxy what humanity could do. "Then let's introduce ourselves to the neighborhood. It's time to show the coalition exactly what they've been throwing away." Above them, through the layers of lunar rock, another coalition garbage scow passed by, dumping its load of worthless technology. Soon they would learn that their greatest mistake wasn't giving humanity their scraps. It was underestimating what humans could build from them. The emergency alarm ripped through the lunar base like a thunderclap. James was in the middle of a crew briefing when the warning lights started flashing. "Report," he barked into his comm unit. "Coalition transport under attack." Tom's voice came back, tight with tension. 3 pirate vessels, heavily armed. They're hitting a civilian passenger ship at the edge of our sector." James was already running toward the Redemption's docking bay, Maria keeping pace beside him. "Coalition response time. Nearest patrol is 20 minutes out. The transport won't last 5. Then it's time." James keyed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The Redemption's crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person taking their assigned position. James took the captain's chair on the bridge while Maria headed to engineering. Through the view screens, they could see the lunar base's massive doors opening above them. "Weapons online," reported the tactical officer. "Hybrid targeting systems responding." "Engineering ready." Maria's voice came through the comm. "Reactor at full power. Our modified shields are holding steady." James took a deep breath. "Launch." The Redemption rose from its hidden dock, breaking free of the moon's gravity with a grace that belied its cobbled-together appearance. As they cleared the lunar surface, their sensors picked up the battle ahead. The coalition transport was already damaged, its elegant hull scarred by weapon impacts. The pirate ships circled it like hungry wolves. "Time to intercept," James asked. "2 minutes at full burn," Tom replied from the navigation station. "Pirates haven't spotted us yet. Their sensors probably can't make sense of our hybrid signature." James allowed himself a small smile. "Let's introduce ourselves. Tactical, prepare a warning shot. Let's show them what our modified weapons can do." The Redemption's main gun, rebuilt from 3 different scrapped Coalition weapons, powered up with a distinctive hum. Energy coursed through the hybrid circuits they'd created, following paths no Coalition engineer would have thought possible. "Target locked," Tactical reported. "Firing." The beam that erupted from the Redemption's bow wasn't the standard blue of Coalition weapons. Instead, it was a swirling mix of colors, the energy twisting in ways that defied conventional physics. It struck the space between 2 pirate ships, then suddenly split into multiple branches, creating a web of deadly energy that forced them to scatter. "What in the void was that?" One of the pirates' voices crackled over the open channel, their surprise evident. "That's not Coalition tech. This is Captain James Walker of the Earth Defense Force," James broadcast. "Stand down and withdraw, or we'll show you what else our ship can do." The pirates responded with a barrage of weapons fire. Their shots, designed to overwhelm standard Coalition shields, met something very different. The Redemption's hybrid defense system didn't just block the attacks, it absorbed them, the energy feeding back into their power grid. "Shields holding at 115%, Maria reported, excitement in her voice. "Their attacks are actually charging our batteries." "Return fire," James ordered. "Show them why you don't underestimate humans." The Redemption moved like nothing the pirates had ever seen. Instead of the predictable attack patterns of Coalition ships, it was wild, unpredictable. Its weapons shifted frequency with every shot, preventing the pirates from adapting their shields. The hybrid targeting system, guided by human intuition rather than rigid programs, found weak points that standard computers would have missed. One pirate ship went down in the first exchange, its engines crippled by a shot that curved around its shields at an impossible angle. The second tried to flee, only to find its escape route cut off by another of the Redemption's energy webs. The third pirate, apparently their leader, switched tactics. "Coalition transport, prepare to be boarded. Try to stop us, and we'll vent their passengers into space." "Like hell you will," James growled. "Maria, remember that trick we practiced? The one that shouldn't work according to Coalition physics." "Ready when you are, Captain." James smiled grimly. "All hands, brace for maneuver. Tactical, full power to the hybrid core. Let's show them what happens when humans get creative." The Redemption's reactor spun up to speeds that would have shattered a standard Coalition power core. But their hybrid system, built to handle chaos, transformed the energy overload into something new. The ship's hull began to glow with accumulated power. "Now," James ordered. The energy burst outward in a controlled wave, not damaging but disrupting. Every system on the pirate ships suddenly went haywire as the pulse hit them. Shields flickered, weapons lost power, and targeting systems gave nonsense readings. It was impossible according to Coalition science, which was exactly why it worked. In the confusion, the Redemption struck. 3 precise shots disabled the remaining pirates' weapons and engines. The entire battle had lasted less than 5 minutes. "Coalition transport, this is Redemption," James broadcast. "Are you safe? Do you need medical assistance?" There was a long pause before the transport responded. When it did, the captain's voice was filled with disbelief. We are damaged but stable. But what are you? Those weapons, those tactics, they're impossible." "Not impossible," James replied. "Just human." Before they could respond, new signals appeared on their sensors. The Coalition patrol had finally arrived. 3 sleek warships, their weapons already charging. "Unidentified vessel." The Coalition commander's voice was cold. "Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The use of modified coalition technology is strictly forbidden. James shared a look with his bridge crew. This was the moment they'd prepared for. Coalition Command, check your scans more carefully. Every piece of technology on this ship came from materials you legally gave us. We just found better ways to use them. Impossible, the commander spluttered. Our engineers certified that technology as unusable. No primitive species could possibly. That's your problem. Maria cut in, her voice proud. You think your way is the only way. You throw away anything that doesn't fit your perfect vision. But humans, we take what others discard and make it better. Every piece of garbage you dumped on us taught us something new. The coalition ships moved to surround them, but James wasn't worried. Their sensors had already confirmed what the simulations had suggested. The Redemption's hybrid systems were more than a match for standard coalition technology. Stand down, James advised them. We just saved one of your civilian transports while your patrol was too far away to help. I suggest you focus on arresting these pirates and getting those passengers to safety. Unless you want to explain to the Council why you're threatening the ship that just protected Coalition citizens. There was a long pause as the Coalition commander processed this. Finally, through gritted teeth, he responded, "This incident will be reported to the Council. Your ship violates dozens of technology restrictions." "No," James corrected him. "It proves that those restrictions were wrong. Humanity is ready for the stars. We proved it by building something amazing from the pieces you threw away. Now, do you want our help securing these pirates, or should we leave you to handle it yourself?" The silence that followed was deafening. Around them, the coalition ships maintained their threatening posture, but everyone could sense the shift in power. The Redemption had just demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't have been possible, using technology the Coalition had discarded as worthless. More importantly, they'd saved Coalition citizens while the Coalition's own ships were too far away to help. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would have to recognize that humanity could no longer be dismissed as primitive. News of the Redemption's debut spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Coalition Council chamber was packed as representatives from every member species gathered to debate the human situation. James, Maria, and Tom stood before them, the chamber's grand architecture making them feel small but not intimidated. "This is an outrage," thundered the Coalition's chief engineer, his ceremonial robes quivering with anger. "They took our discarded technology and corrupted it. Their ship violates every principle of proper engineering." "Does it?" Maria stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Or does it just violate your assumptions about what's possible? Every component on the Redemption came from materials you legally gave us. We simply looked at them with fresh eyes." The council leader, an ancient being with silver skin, leaned forward. "Show us. Prove how this hybrid abomination of yours works." Tom activated a holographic display, showing the Redemption systems. "You designed everything to be perfect, to work exactly one way. When something doesn't meet your standards, you throw it away. But we humans learned long ago that perfection can be the enemy of progress." He highlighted their hybrid power core. "You discarded these crystal matrices because they had flaws. We saw that the flaws created unique energy patterns. By combining multiple imperfect crystals with earth metals, we created something new, a power system that's stronger because of its imperfections." The chief engineer scoffed. "Impossible. Our simulations prove." "Your simulations are based on your assumptions," James interrupted. "You assume technology must work the way you think it should. But the universe is bigger than that. The Redemption doesn't just work. It saved Coalition lives while your perfect ships were too far away to help." A murmur ran through the chamber. The rescued transport's passengers had already shared their stories across the Coalition networks. The ship that saved them hadn't been sleek or elegant, but it had done what the Coalition's finest vessels couldn't. "This is more than just one ship," Maria continued. She pulled up images of their lunar facility. "While you were busy dumping your scraps on us, we were learning. Every piece of broken technology taught us something new. We didn't just copy your designs, we improved them. The council leader's expression was unreadable. And what would you have us do? Accept that a primitive species has somehow surpassed our engineering. No, James replied firmly. We want you to accept that different doesn't mean primitive. Humanity doesn't want to replace coalition technology. We want to add to it. Imagine what we could accomplish if we worked together instead of being forced to scavenge through your garbage. A new voice spoke up. The captain of the transport the Redemption had saved. My ship carried 300 passengers, including children. The pirates would have killed us all if not for their primitive vessel. Perhaps it's time we reconsidered our definition of advancement. Over the next few hours, more voices joined the debate. Other marginalized species spoke up, sharing stories of being dismissed and restricted by coalition technology laws. The Redemption hadn't just proved humans were capable. It had shown that the coalition's entire approach to technological development might be flawed. Finally, after much heated discussion, the council leader raised a hand for silence. It seems we have underestimated humanity. And perhaps we have grown too rigid in our thinking. Captain Walker, Engineer Rodriguez, what exactly are you proposing? Maria stepped forward again. End the technology restrictions. Let us join the coalition as true equals. The Redemption proves we can handle advanced technology responsibly. More than that, we can help improve it. And if we refuse, the chief engineer demanded. James smiled. Then we'll keep building more ships like the Redemption. You've already given us everything we need. The only difference is whether we do it together or separately. The council leader was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, they nodded. The restrictions will be lifted. Humanity will be granted full coalition membership, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. And they turned to the chief engineer. We will establish a new division of the Science Council, focused on hybrid technology development. Engineer Rodriguez, would you consider leading it? Maria's eyes widened. We would be honored, but only if we can include other species who've been held back by the old restrictions. The Redemption proves that sometimes the best innovations come from those you least expect. As the council session ended, James, Maria, and Tom stood at a viewport, watching ships come and go from the coalition capital. Among them was the Redemption, its unique design standing out among the standardized coalition vessels. Hard to believe it all started with a pile of scraps, Tom mused. No, Maria corrected him. It started with human ingenuity. The scraps were just the tools we needed to prove ourselves. James nodded. And now, he gestured to where other ships were already beginning to show signs of human influence. Hybrid designs that combined coalition precision with Earth creativity. Now we show them what humanity can really do, Maria said firmly. The Redemption was just the beginning. Imagine what we can build when we're not limited to working with garbage. Back on Earth, the next generation of ships was already taking shape. But these weren't built from scraps. They were true collaborations, combining the best of coalition technology with human innovation. Each one represented a new way of thinking, a bridge between the old and the new. The coalition had thought they were keeping humanity in its place by giving them their garbage. Instead, they'd given them exactly what they needed to prove themselves. The Redemption hadn't just saved a transport ship, it had changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. In the years that followed, the story of this ship built from scraps became legend. But its real legacy wasn't in the technology it pioneered or the battles it won. It was in the lesson it taught the galaxy. That true advancement doesn't come from perfection, but from the willingness to try new things, to see possibilities where others see only trash. James stood on the Redemption's bridge one last time before it was retired to become a museum piece. The ship that had started as a collection of discarded parts had become a symbol of humanity's potential, a reminder that sometimes the most amazing things can come from the most humble beginnings. Ready to go? Maria asked, joining him on the bridge. She was wearing her new Science Council uniform, but her eyes still held the same determination they'd had when they were secretly building their impossible ship. "Yeah," James replied, running his hand along the captain's chair. "You know, they still can't quite figure out how we made it all work." Maria laughed. "That's because they're still thinking like the Coalition. They want everything to make perfect sense. But humans, we know that sometimes the best solutions are the ones that shouldn't work, but do anyway." As they left the bridge, James took one last look at the ship that had changed everything. The Coalition had given them scraps, thinking they were putting humanity in its place. Instead, they'd given humanity exactly what it needed to show the galaxy that sometimes the best way to reach the stars isn't to follow the path others have laid out. It's to build your own from whatever materials you have at hand. The redemption had started as a statement of human defiance. It had ended up becoming something more, a reminder that true advancement comes not from following established rules, but from having the courage to break them and build something new from the pieces.